Good morning, folks. This is Deb Delapiana, and this is your short take. So, I like it when I don't have to go to work till later in the day because we get to talk. So I think we need to talk this morning just loosely, broadly, about things that have happened since my last video. And we will get into some detail in subsequent videos, but let's start with this. Yesterday, in my opinion, was a watershed moment in the reckoning of Donald Trump. Yesterday, Judge Engoron handed down his decision in the Letitia James trial in New York and determined that the Trump crime family needs to pay $364 million to the state of New York, and that Donald Trump and his sons cannot do any business in New York at all in any capacity for 3 full years. This on top of the $88.3 million judgment in both E.G. Carroll cases, which means now he's got to come up with somewhere close to $500 million to satisfy just these two trials. The best thing that Letitia James did is that she made it so that Donald Trump, A, cannot move his money around. He has a monitor watching his businesses. And she made it such that if he does decide to appeal it, and he most certainly, I believe he will, we'll see what happens. It could take years, but all of the money that it has been determined that he owes, his family owes, needs to be held for the whole process of that appeal. In other words, there is no way out. He's going to have to liquidate. And if he decides to sell Trump Tower, he's probably going to get $60 million for it because it was not worth what he inflated the price to. That was determined as well. There have been other things that have happened since then. He tried to stall his Alvin Bragg case, the Stormy Daniels case, which is not just about paying off Stormy Daniels because he had sex with her. It was an attempt to influence the 2016 election so that no dirt get out about him prior to voting time, because people might find him offensive and unpalatable as a human being, let alone a world leader. And it wasn't just Stormy Daniels. But he did not successfully stall this trial. And Judge Kaplan in that case has announced that, I'm sorry, Judge Mershon, sorry about that, has announced in that case that the jury selection begins on March 25th. So again, the 2016 election interference case, which is what this actually is, begins on March 25th with jury selection, no delay. The third thing came from the Trump camp itself. He has now decided he will not appeal his broad immunity case to the Supreme Court, which means that Judge Chutkan's trial in Washington can now be put back on the docket. Those cases can now move forward. We know there's something going on in Georgia with Fani Willis. It's about removing her from the case, which is absolutely ludicrous. We're not going to do a hot take on that here. We're going to go into that in detail in a future video. We don't like hot takes much. So it is apparent right now that Donald Trump is being held accountable for what he did. This is just the beginning. These are his civil trials. We're now getting into the criminal trials. And yes, by the way, stunningly enough, Judge Aileen Cannon also ruled against him over the last couple of days as he tried to stall pretrial meetings in his documents trial. We've got a long way to go here. But you know what? I truly do believe that the Chutkan case will be adjudicated before the election. And we will see where that goes. But none of this bodes well for Donald Trump. And this is well-deserved. Now, let's move on to one other topic here. Let's move on to guns. As we all know, there was another mass shooting in America at the Super Bowl parade in Kansas City. Missouri has some of the weakest gun laws in the nation. They made them weaker last year. They already had a crime problem, and they already had a lot of gun deaths in that city. Yet the Republican governor and other Republican lawmakers made it easier for people to get guns. So who has been arrested in this shooting? 22 people shot by 2 juveniles. Kids with guns. Only in America. Only in America. 22 people shot, 1 woman, a popular disc jockey in the city, killed. 11 of the people wounded were children. It stemmed from an incident where they disagreed. Only in America do kids understand that guns are the way to solve all of your problems. Yet we have a Republican Party that refuses to come to the table, in spite of the fact that it's February 17th. We've already had 49 mass shootings in the United States. And you know what? And counting. In 2023, we had 656 mass shootings. We had 42,987 gun deaths in America, and we had 36,366 gun injuries in America. And we can't come to the table and find a solution to this problem. I have an automobile. I have a license that says I can drive it safely. I have a registration that shows where that car is registered and who it's registered to. I have a license plate on my car, so if I run somebody over or I'm running from a crime, they can find me. I have to get my license renewed. I had to take driver's ed. I had to prove to somebody I could drive. And in the United States, we can't do that for weapons. In a country where we have more guns than people. This is not, absolutely not, what the founders intended when they wrote that Second Amendment. It was not about individuals owning guns to begin with. It was about a, quote, well-regulated militia, end quote. No matter what the right wing tells you. This needs to stop. You know how this stops? I'm going to say it again. The only way this stops is get rid of the GOP. We cannot get anything done, not just because Donald Trump is running for president. He's outside the government now, and he's totally controlling both the House and the Senate. Let's get real here, because let's go back to the immigration bill for 1 minute. That was negotiated by Republican senators in cooperation with Democratic senators. Am I right? I am right. At the end, even they turned against the bill. You want to know why? Because they knew it wasn't going to pass the House, and they saw a way to ingratiate themselves with the Grand Orange Buffoon, who they are. He is literally leading the GOP around like a bunch of hapless puppies. He's up there like the puppet master. This is what he wants the House to do. This is what he wants the Senate to do. And they're all complying. They're all complying because they're a pack of cowards interested in saving their own hide. Well, you know what? Guess what? We don't have to prove a damn thing in a court of law, the American people. We can just vote them the hell out. And that's what we should be doing. The last time we took it easy, Democrats, we wound up with Donald Trump. Let's not make that mistake again. And by the way, let me talk to every Republican voter out there who isn't MAGA. And we know it's not the majority of Republicans. You need to step outside yourselves and forget the R next to your name. You need to vote for Joe Biden. Because if you have any hope that you can save your party someday or build a new one, you're only going to do it under Biden. You're not going to do it under Donald Trump, because he is going to rule with an iron fist. Wake up. And by the way, I haven't forgotten the whole Biden issue. With that report on the documents, we will get into that as well, but not today. I will talk to you all soon.